What's going on, guys? Every year, a great portion of NFL teams surprise us. Some of those surprises are pleasant and some are unpleasant. There are always a few underdog teams that surpass expectations and sneak into the playoffs. Other preseason playoff and Super Bowl contenders flop big time, and we're left looking silly for buying all of the hype surrounding them. Well, we're pretty confident that a handful of teams will take leaps in 2019, while 5 clubs regress quite a bit, whether that be simply missing the playoffs or entering full-on tank mode. I'm Biondo, and today we present 5 NFL teams that will improve in 2019 and 5 that will decline. Don't forget to leave your video ideas down below. We'll be looking, and if we choose your idea, we'll give you a shout out in the video. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications because we post videos every single day. Every day's a new video. And a big shout out to Michael Chandler for suggesting this video. Thanks, Michael. Number 5, improve. Oakland Raiders. The Raiders aren't going to emerge as a Super Bowl contender in 2019, but if all goes right, they could be a surprise playoff team. The Raiders started their offseason with a bang, trading for Pittsburgh Steelers disgruntled wideout Antonio Brown. He's only been the NFL's best wide receiver for about 5 years now, and AB will do wonders in an offense that will be built around his skill set. Oakland probably overpaid for wideout Tyrell Williams, and offensive lineman Trent Brown got way too much money. But hey, they're all still upgrades over what Oakland had at both positions in 2018. We weren't in love with the draft work of John Gruden and Mike Mayock, but I mean, Clelin Ferrell is still an upgrade over anybody else on the Raiders defensive line. And my God, will running back Josh Jacobs ever be a great fit in the offense? Safety Jonathan Abrams should be a nice fit in that secondary as well. The Raiders are probably looking at something closer to 7 to 9 wins this year, but that's still quite the improvement. If Derek Carr stays healthy, this offense could be a top 5 unit. The defense needs to work, but it should improve gradually in 2019. Finally, Gruden is starting to look like someone worthy of $100 million. Well, yeah, sort of. Number 5, decline. Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have recorded 3 straight losing seasons now, and things aren't going to get better anytime soon. The team finally fired head coach Marvin Lewis, and they replaced him with Los Angeles Rams quarterback coach Zach Taylor. We like the hire, but it's going to take the young head coach a while to build this team accordingly. AJ Green is a year older. Owner Mike Brown once again didn't get his front office to spend much in free agency. Big surprise. Oh, and Andy Dalton is still the starting QB, and his ceiling these days is 7 wins, nothing more. The Bengals drafted NC State signal caller Ryan Finley in the 4th round, a sign that they're ready to move on from Dalton soon. And the other 3 teams in the AFC North are miles ahead of the Bengals right now. This team is looking at 3 to 5 wins in 2019. We would not be shocked if they end up with the 1st overall pick. Expect the Bengals to be in full tank mode here in 2019. That's all we gotta say. Number 4, improve. Denver Broncos. John Elway built up a Super Bowl 50 championship team in the Mile High City. But ever since Peyton Manning retired in 2016, the former has struck out on almost every trade, draft pick, and free agent signing. Well, Elway may have made up for all those mistakes following an excellent and productive offseason in 2019. You might not like the trade for Joe Flacco, but so what? It was a low-risk move, and he's an upgrade over any other QB the Broncos have fielded since 2016. Elway also upgraded a leaky secondary by adding Houston Texans corner Kareem Jackson in free agency. He overpaid for Miami Dolphins tackle Jawan James, but he's still an upgrade on their O-line. Elway's best work came at the draft, however. He landed Iowa tight end Noah Fant, who has Pro Bowler written all over him. And they took their hopeful quarterback of the future in Drew Lock. So Flacco or Lock will get to work with an offense consisting of Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton, and Phillip Lindsay. Yes sir. Things are looking promising in the Mile High City again. A playoff berth in 2019 really isn't out of the question. Number 4, decline. Carolina Panthers. Expectations are high for the Panthers, coming off a trip to the postseason in 2017. They stood at 6-2 through the first half of 2018 and looked poised to do damage in the postseason. But Cam Newton suffered a shoulder injury and wasn't able to play up to his usual standards. Carolina dropped 7 straight and didn't win another game until week 17, when the New Orleans Saints rested their starters. The Panthers finished with just 7 wins in 2018, and yet that number stands to decrease in 2019. Even if Newton somehow manages to play a whole year, it's hard to see him playing at an MVP and Pro Bowl level. Carolina didn't address its leaky secondary in free agency. The Panthers lack the dynamic playmakers outside of Christian McCaffrey on offense. The defense has holes all over as well. Carolina's NFC South foes all got better in the offseason, so they're looking at 5 to 6 wins max here in 2019, maybe even fewer. Expect them to compete for a top 5 pick, rather than a playoff spot. Number 3, improve. Buffalo Bills. Now the Bills might not be ready to return to the playoffs, but they'll certainly be better than the group that won 6 games in 2018. Brandon Beane is quickly growing into one of the NFL's best general managers. He wasted no time fixing a wretched offense around young quarterback Josh Allen. The Bills signed reliable slot receiver and moving the chains guru guru Cole Beasley and vertical deep threat John Brown. Bean also went to work in fixing a horrible O-line, signing Kansas City Chiefs center Mitch Morse and drafting Oklahoma tackle Cody Ford, who should have been a top 15 selection. Bean also hit a home run by drafting Ed Oliver with the number 9 pick. Some scouts believe he's the best and most polished player in the 2019 class. Getting Florida Atlantic running back Devin Singletary in the 3rd round was another genius move, surrounding Allen with another playmaker on offense. We can see the Bills winning 7 to 9 games in 2019, but we would not be too shocked if they made the playoffs. The defense is a top 5 unit, and if Allen and the offense take another step, the Bills could very well surprise. One thing is for sure, the Bills won't be boring here in 2019. Thank God. Number 3, decline. Seattle Seahawks. Written off by most heading into 2019, the Seahawks managed to go 10-6 to lock down the wildcard berth. Now we love what John Schneider did in the draft, but that helps Seattle in the long term. This offseason, Schneider didn't do a whole lot to help the Hawks win now. The Seahawks couldn't strike a new deal with top pass rusher Frank Clark, and he was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Seattle also lost Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas in free agency, though he didn't play most of 2018 anyway. Still, it's a big loss, and the Hawks didn't do much to update a questionable secondary. Schneider deserves praise for finding some great value in the draft, such as DK Metcalf and Cody Barton, but they needed corners and more offensive linemen. We expect growing pains for Seattle in 2019. They'll likely miss the playoffs, but in 2020 and 2021, the team may be ready to compete again. Just don't be surprised when they take a step back in 2019. Number 2, improve. Atlanta Falcons. Other than signing veteran guard James Carpenter to a 4-year deal, Atlanta Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff didn't do a whole lot in free agency. His only notable loss was number 2 running back Tevin Coleman, who joined the San Francisco 49ers. We're not sure about the Falcons' decision to take Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry in the 1st round, but I suppose the O-line was their biggest weakness heading into 2019. So why do we think the Falcons will improve this upcoming season? 2 words: luck and health. It's kind of 3, but whatever. Pro Bowl linebacker Deion Jones suffered a foot injury and only played 6 games in 2018. Star safety Keanu Neal tore his ACL in week 1 and had to miss the remainder of the year. Foot and groin injuries sidelined top running back Devontae Freeman for most of 2018 too. The Falcons also lost 4 games by 6 points or less, so the bounces just really didn't go their way. It's as simple as that. On paper, this is a team that stands in the top 5 in terms of roster talent. Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Freeman form one of the NFL's most potent offenses. If Neal and Jones are healthy, Atlanta should have a top 10 defense, at least one good enough to help them win a Super Bowl. Dimitroff's moves in the offseason weren't too flashy, but the Falcons simply can't get that unlucky with injuries and bounces again. That's why we expect a return to the playoffs, and perhaps more. Number 2, decline. Miami Dolphins. Despite a very below average roster, the Fins managed to win 7 games in 2018, and they were in the playoff race before dropping their final 2 contests of the season. But missing the playoffs yet again was the final straw for ownership and management. Even though he probably deserved another chance, head coach Adam Gase was fired. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill was traded to the Tennessee Titans. Pro Bowl pass rusher Cameron Wake signed with the Tennessee Titans. Wide receiver Danny Amendola was released, and veteran running back Frank Gore joined the Buffalo Bills. You see where we're going with this? The Dolphins were probably smart in deciding it was time to, well, tank. That's why the front office moved on from all those veterans while avoiding the temptation of throwing money at big-name free agents. Brian Flores comes to the Dolphins as the new head coach. Josh Rosen, whom Miami acquired in a trade with the Arizona Cardinals, will serve as their quarterback of the future. Miami won't be contending for a playoff spot in 2019, whether they want to admit it or not. This is pretty much a tank job. 2 to 5 wins seems more realistic for this group, but the tanking will pay off. They had to stop settling for 7-win seasons at some point. Number 1, improve. Green Bay Packers. Okay, the Packers cannot possibly be bad for a 3rd straight year, right? Aaron Rodgers is too good to let this team fall apart again. We're unsure about the hiring of Matt LaFleur as the new head coach, but he should be an upgrade over Mike McCarthy, who simply wore out his welcome with the historic franchise. Rodgers and the Green Bay offense should be more in sync in 2019, but Brian Gutekunst is the reason why we expect such a turnaround this time. Gutekunst went crazy in trying to upgrade Green Bay's defense. He added stud safety Adrian Amos plus linebacker Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. That was in free agency. Combine those 2 Smiths with Blake Martinez, and you have one scary front 7. The Packers made a risky pick in Rashawn Gary at number 12 overall, but what if he does reach his full potential? My God, this defense is going to be horrifying for opposing quarterbacks. Adding Darnell Savage Jr. with the 21st pick gives the Packers another playmaking safety. He and Amos are going to have so much fun together. Did we mention the Packers have Rodgers? Alright, now we're talking about a team that's going from 6-9-1 to Super Bowl contention. Yeah, we said that last year, but this time, we mean it. The Packers will return to relevance. We promise. And if we're wrong, sorry. Number 1, decline. Houston Texans. 2nd Second-year quarterback Deshaun Watson didn't exactly light it up in 2018, but he was coming off a torn ACL that ruined his rookie year. Not to mention Houston also had one of the downright worst offensive lines ever seen. Watson was sacked 62 times. Anyway, the AFC South champions, coming off an 11-win season, didn't do much to get better. It was one lackluster offseason for GM Brian Gaine. He lost Pro Bowl safety Tyrann Mathieu and top corner Kareem Jackson in free agency. The Texans' wretched O-line didn't get much better. They really reached for Alabama State tackle Titus Howard. There were better prospects in Cody Ford and Greg Little available. Houston's secondary was awful in 2018, and yet it already looks miles worse without Jackson and Mathieu. Their O-line probably can't perform any worse, but it certainly won't be much better. Not to mention Houston's 3 AFC South foes all made drastic moves to get better. Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville should all be playoff contenders. The Texans are looking at missing the postseason at this rate, unless the secondary and O-line somehow get better overnight. But we're not banking on it. Which other NFL teams will improve in 2019 and which ones will get worse? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself at TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every single week and they're so entertaining. So if you want more of me, you should go there. Make sure to subscribe to TPS because we post videos every single day. Every day's a new video. Subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click right down there. Smash that like button. You know what to do. Boom. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.